Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kimothy, and on this channel we speak everything personal finance. And in today's video, we're talking about the best investment that you can make in your 20s. Now, this is one of the most crucial topics for anyone starting out because your 20s sets the base for your financial future. The decisions you make in your 20s will affect you in your 30s and 40s and 50s. So you have to make smart decisions in your 20s. And like I said, today we'll be talking about some investments and some things that you can do so you can set yourself up for a better financial future once you reach 30 to 40 to 50 years old. First, let's talk about why investing while you're young is key. With decades and decades ahead of you, compound interest becomes your best friend. If you're not sure what compound interest is, it's basically just you investing your money, and then the money you put in grows on the money that's already in and just keeps compounding and compounding. So the earlier you start, the more your money can grow over time. So let me give you an example of two people, Sarah and Mike. Sarah is investing $200 a month at age 25, and Mike wanted to wait to start investing at the age 35, and he's investing $200 as well. By the time they reach 65, Sarah would have invested about $96,000 of her money, while Mike would have only invested about $72,000 of his money. But here's the thing, with an average return of about 7%, Sarah will have about $380,000 sitting there waiting for her in retirement, while Mike will just have $180,000. That's a difference of $200,000 just because Sarah invested 10 years earlier than Mike. This example shows how important it is to start investing as early as you can. You can start investing into a Roth IRA as soon as you start generating an income. So where should you start? The smartest place to start is by investing into your 401k or your Roth IRA. These are excellent vehicles for retirement, especially if you invest into a 401k. Now, 401k is an employer-sponsored retirement account, so a lot of times the employer will match your dollars. So if I put 5% of my income, my employer matches me at 5%. In total, that's about 10% that's getting invested to my retirement, and all I had to do to get 10% was invest 5% of my money. In your IRA, your Roth IRA, which you can invest into ones through Fidelity or Vanguard, Charles Schwab. There's many different ways to invest into a Roth IRA, which a lot of people say to invest into a Roth IRA over your 401k. So when you do invest into these retirement accounts, just be sure to at least get the match, and then if you are able to invest into a Roth IRA, do that, because the money goes in tax-free, and when you pull it out, it is also tax-free. So if you have $1 million in your Roth IRA, say when you reach the age of 59 and a half, you can pull $1 million out of your Roth IRA because you already paid the taxes on it. Now with the 401k, the money comes out before any taxes. So when you pull that money out, you do have to pay taxes on it. So by the time you're 59 or 60 or whenever you pull it out, you just don't really know the tax situation. You don't really know what tax bracket you're going to be in. You don't know what the economy is going to be looking like. But right now, you know what the economy looks like. You know what tax bracket you're in. That's kind of why they say you should do the Roth over the 401k. So if your employer does offer a 401k, be sure to get your match at least. And now once you have these retirement accounts, where should you actually invest your money into? We're talking about stocks and mutual funds. Now, I'm not going to say you should invest into a stock. I'm not going to say you should invest into a mutual fund, but you should look into the S&P 500, which is a collection of the top 500 companies in the US, and has given about an average return of 7 to 10%. So investing into something like the S&P 500 is a very safe bet if you have no idea what to invest in. And now for real estate, it's one of the best assets you can buy. But now don't get me wrong, a lot of times a single family home may be a liability. It's really not putting any money into your pockets. It's kind of taking away money. Your only thing you're really building is the appreciation of the home. So you might have bought your home for $100,000, and then in about 5 years it might be worth $140,000, but yet it's still taking money from you. You still have to put money towards maintenance and expenses and roof leaks, water heaters that go out. Owning a house is a lot, but in your 20s, I want you to be able to buy a house. And one of my favorite things that you can do in your 20s is something I did, which is house hacking. Basically, you could buy a single family house if that's what your market kind of calls for, or a duplex or 3 family, 4 family. You live in one unit and you rent out the top. So that's what we're doing right now. We live in the bottom unit, then we rent out the top unit, and the top unit pays the mortgage. So we have extra money to invest, or we have extra money to put towards vacations. We have extra money to put to different categories within our budget because it's not being pulled from the mortgage. So this house is actually an asset to us because at the end of the day, it keeps more money in our pockets. We're not paying the mortgage off. We have someone else paying the mortgage. So if you do buy a single family home, be sure that you can afford it. You can always go by the rule of make sure that your mortgage payment is within 25 to 35% of your monthly income. This rule kind of ensures that you're not putting too much money to your mortgage, so you don't end up being house poor. Then you won't be able to kind of enjoy your life because most of your money will be going to your mortgage. So just be sure that you're not having to pay too much money towards your mortgage. This is something that you can do by house hacking to help alleviate the price that you will be paying to your mortgage. Also, don't rush into buying a house in your 20s. I want you to have a house in your 20s. It seems like it's the goal, but don't rush into buying a house in your 20s. In a lot of markets right now, renting is actually cheaper than buying buying a house. Now, the mortgage itself might be cheaper than renting, but then you have to think about insurance costs. You might have HOA fees. You have to think about property tax, which goes up every year. You also have to think about the maintenance that you have to do on the house. If your market has cheaper rents, and then you can rent in your market and invest the difference. If you have rents in your market for about $1,500, say you can afford a mortgage that costs about $2,000, you can always just rent the $1,500 apartment and invest the difference of $500 into something like the S&P 500. It's really a numbers game. I know the American dream is buying a house, but don't rush into buying a house. It will take a lot of money from you if you're not prepared for it. Now, some short-term investment that you should be contributing to in your 20s is an emergency fund. If you don't know what an emergency fund is, it is a fund that helps you out when times are rough. So when you are in a struggle, you're not forced to use credit cards. You have your emergency fund to lean on. Now, a lot of times your emergency fund should be between 3 to 6 months. 3 months if you have pretty stable income, 6 months if you have a family with a single household income or your income not as stable. Now, to actually find your emergency fund number, you need to add up all your bare bone expenses. I'm not talking about going out to eat. I'm not talking about going to amusement parks. I'm talking about transportation, shelter, food, insurance, and even daycare. Whatever you really need in life is what you should factor into your emergency fund. So if your expenses for a month come out to about $3,000, and 3,000 times 3 is 9, that's $9,000 for a 3-month emergency fund, and then $18,000 for a 6-month emergency fund. One of the best places you can put your emergency fund right now is a high yield savings account. Now, a lot of high yield savings accounts gives you a return of 4% to 5% on your money. That's a guaranteed return. There's no going down. It's just consistent 5% or 4%, but that is subjected to change. It's not going to always be at that 4%. For example, one of the banks we use, they started at about 4.8% and they have been getting lower and lower about every 3 months. So right now they're at about 4.3%. So put your emergency fund in a high yield savings account, but use this emergency fund for emergencies only so you're not relying on credit cards. Another thing you should be doing in your 20s is saving for college. Now listen, it might take a while for you to actually get to the point where you're saving for your children. One of the financial processes that I go by was created by the Money Guys, which is the financial order of operations, and they have 9 steps in their financial order of operations, and the 8th step is paying for school expenses. Speaking of the financial order operations, I want to go through the financial order operations with you guys. Now, this is a set of rules created by the Money Guys, which is a YouTube channel that talks about personal finance, and they have the financial order operations, which is something that you all can look to when navigating your 20. I'm going to just talk about it really quick, with the first one being deductibles covered. This is basically a pre-emergency fund before you start paying off debt. So you say your highest deductible is about $4,000 for health insurance. So you want to save $4,000 before you start paying off any high interest credit card debt. Step 2, which is your employer match. I already mentioned that you should be investing to your employer match. So if your employer is saying, if you put in 5%, we put in 5%, put in your 5%, because that is free money. That is a total of 10% that is going to your retirement. And step 3 of the financial order operations, and remember, this is not my idea. This is the Money Guys. They are really great, and I hope you guys check them out because they will change your life just like they changed mine. So with step 3, this is paying off high interest credit card debt. You want to get out of this credit card debt as soon as possible, because investing into anything beyond your employer match is a losing game when you're going against credit card debt, because credit cards have an interest rate of about 15 to 20%, and the markets just aren't giving you that on a regular basis. On a regular basis, you're getting a 7 to 10% return on your money. You're just losing money, honestly. So you want to get out this credit card debt as soon as possible so you can start investing and saving for a bigger emergency fund. Which brings us to step number 4, saving for your emergency fund, which I mentioned before. So for your emergency fund, you want to save between 3 to 6 months of your expenses, and guess what? Your deductible is covered from your first step if it's still there. So you might already have a good amount of cash in your emergency fund to start this step off. Also, don't forget to put your emergency fund into a high yield savings account. There are many accounts out there giving a return between 4 to 5%. And number 5, invest into your Roth IRA. This is putting in after-tax dollars. They grow tax-free, and then when you pull them out at 59.5 years old, you're pulling out money tax-free. So if you end up growing your money from the age 20 to the age of 59.5, and you have accumulated $1 million to that account, when you're 59.5, you can pull out $1 million and it's not taxed. So be sure to invest into a Roth IRA. Like I said, you can go through Fidelity or Vanguard. There's many different companies that offer Roth IRA. Also, remember, when you're investing to a Roth IRA, you should be investing to something like the S&P 500 that has a consistent return of about 7 to 10% on your money. And then number 6, you want to max out your employer plans. Now for me, it's more maxing out my 401k, which I'm not really able to do right now, but that is something that you can do in step 6, is max out your 401k. For step 7 is hyperaccumulation, which they're saying you should be investing about 25% or more of your income. This can be a mix of your taxable brokerage account. This can be a mix of your 401k. This can be a mix of your Roth IRA, and all that together if it's equaling 25%. Step number 8, which is prepay future expenses. This is where your kids' college come in. This is when you're already taking care of yourself. You want to take care of your family. If you're able to do this, then do this. And if you're not, that's okay. Then the final step of the financial order of operations is step 9, which is pay off low interest debt. And that's the financial order of operations, some steps that you can follow in your 20s, which are pretty laid out. And I will include the link to the Money Guys website so you guys can check it out for yourself. And the most important takeaway from all this is to start investing now. Of course, don't start investing until you have paid off your high interest credit card debt. If you don't have no credit card debt, like I said, build that emergency fund and then start investing. Where you invest is important, but it's more important to just start taking action. Just jump in as soon as you can, but jump in with smart decisions, but be sure that you're investing smartly. Develop a habit of saving regularly and watch your investments grow. Your right investment might be different than mine. It all depends on your risk tolerance, your personal goals, and your time horizon. But like I said, the key is to just get started. Don't put too much thought into where you should invest. Just invest into the S&P 500. It's a safe bet, but just get started investing right now, whether it's $50 to $100, $500. Invest as much money as you can at a young age. If you're still in college and you have a little side job, start investing $50 because that $50 will turn into a lot more money as you get older. If you found this video helpful, be sure to share with your friends and subscribe to my channel and like this video if you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys in the next one.